Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from deltacx.com. Check us out. We're a full service CX and UX agency. We also do training and all kinds of stuff that I think is fun. Welcome to our Friday stream, which is Deb reacts to wacky stuff you've sent me during the week. We originally tried to make this a short stream, but you keep sending me more and more wacky stuff. So I don't think these are going to be as short as I hoped. I also want to mention quickly, just because I'm a super fan, the guy who wrote our theme song just released a new album today to his Patreon. I strongly suggest you join his Patreon at whatever level gets you his new album. It's like a 45 or 50-minute concept album that has no breaks in songs. It's just a story. It's almost like a musical of some sort, and it's epic. It is called I Have Little to No Memory of These Memories. So there you go. A little plug for Toehider. Look them up, Toehider. So now let's get to the stuff you have sent. And remember, you can always send stuff at deltacx.link/reaction, and I will save it up for Friday. And also, you're welcome to write a little blurb about why you're sending it. Quick note, sometimes people send stuff that we've talked about before. So if you don't see me go over it this week, we've done it already. Go back into the archives, go back into the Deb Reacts to Stuff playlist and check out the archives. All right, hello to the people in YouTube joining today and LinkedIn. Let me press a couple of buttons and see if I can get the right screen to come up. Okay, that should do it. You should see me and the tip jar and my browser. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, great. So let's start. So someone sent me, I'm in a private browser, so it's going to look like I haven't signed into anything. So someone sent a Medium article from almost 2 years ago. Excuse me. Whew. A Medium article from almost 2 years ago called How to Have a Successful UX Career at Google or Anywhere Else. 3 mindset-changing tips you won't learn in design school. So let's kind of blow through what this person's tips are. Learn how to speak shark, which according to them is, I guess, speaking the business's language. And they say things like, what problem are we solving? For whom? Why? Why do we compete? How do we compete? What's our differentiator? How do we make money? Growth strategy, ecosystem risks. Hone your sales skills. So I guess this person recommends UX teams should know more about sales. And measure, measure, measure. Google likes to say if you can't measure it, it didn't happen. So this brings us back to metrics. Thanks to whoever sent this. I don't think anything here is particularly groundbreaking. I'm happy to hear this person say that more people need to speak the business's language and certainly understand some of the things that are going on internal to a business, like sales and focusing on metrics. Now that it's 2 years later, I think people are talking about metrics a lot more than they were in 2019 related to UX. So I think that has certainly been getting more attention and adoption. But I don't disagree. I'm also out there saying we need to speak the business's language, but I'm usually not asking these questions that this person has put up, like what problem are we solving, for whom, why, how do we compete, what's our differentiator, how do we make money, what are our ecosystems risks. I would probably be asking people to think about the business in other terms, but I'm a little too sleepy to say what those would be, so I'm a little unprepared today. But ultimately, she says, get familiar with metrics, and I think more people are in the last 2 years. So not a bad article, nothing really here that I disagree with. It's just that it's because it's a moment in time and we're now all talking more about this. It seems like, yeah, we already know, but we didn't already know in 2019. I was telling people, start looking at metrics and ROI, and there were some people saying that, but not a lot. So I will give this person 4 dogs out of 5 because I think this is a good article, just caught in a moment in time that makes it seem like, yeah, so, but that's not this person's fault. It's a decent article. All right, next, someone sent me this video which I did watch. I'm not going to put it on now. Basically, this is from Game Thinking TV, which is Amy Jo, who I actually met in 2019. And just some weeks ago, she interviewed somebody who I don't know. I'm not even sure how to pronounce his name. Bob Moesta? Moesta? I don't know if I'm supposed to give that a more of a German sound or American sound. So basically, I thought Bob made a lot of good points in this video. You can certainly look it up. It's called 5 Tips for Better, Faster Customer Interviews. Now, ultimately, I thought he gave some good tips for better interviews. I certainly don't want anybody to do faster customer interviews, but ultimately you learn that some of his interviews go faster because he's like Larry Marine. He's like someone who's been around so many years. He knows the right questions to ask. He gets to the information he needs to know, and he jumps right into prototyping. Now, for most of us, yes and no. Many people want to do more of a little bit of a longer process. We do our interviews. Now we're going to do some time listening back to them, analyzing them, and kind of, moving slowly through our phases to get to those prototypes. To me, there's nothing wrong with either. If your company or project will allow you the time to move through the process, that's great. You shouldn't feel under pressure to do a bunch of interviews in one day and have a prototype the next day, even though he makes it sound that way. But I do know that Larry Marine can do that kind of thing, and I'm kind of close to doing that kind of thing. And I just think it comes with a certain level of expertise and experience that kind of makes people say, yeah, if I do all the interviews and I have a good memory and they're all in my head, then I don't have to do an affinity diagram. I kind of heard the patterns, I saw what's going on, and now I can just jump in. But I think that really comes with at least 10 or 15 years of experience. I don't expect to do that yourself. I would say if you have fewer than that, please keep moving through the process in the standard way, and don't try to cut corners by going by your memory or things like that, because memories aren't always perfect, and we don't want to do bad research. But all in all, I thought this was a nice video with some good ideas. I watched it I feel like I watched it a year ago. My week is so long, but I remember thinking the video was okay. So I will give it 4 dogs out of 5. You can check it out. And remember, I believe in better interviews, but not necessarily faster. And hello to Vazia. Good to see you again. Next, I got a tweet, which was a video. And it's dude in a car. Can someone please tell me why all these videos are people in cars? Could they not step outside of their car and show us a tree? Why everybody in cars? Anyway, the question was, this person was using a video to ask a question: how and when do you share customer stories in your organization? And there were lots of responses here, like, oh, we share good news with stakeholders. Oh, we tell good stories in retros or whatever it is. And the person who sent this to me was like, hey, because this one says, we share customer stories to shine the light on success. Well, remember, customer stories, there should be positive and negative ones, and I want to make sure those are being shared equally. We want to make sure that while it's great to celebrate successes and to celebrate the happy customers from whom we hear good things, whether those are through voice of the customer stuff or interview and other research stuff, we also have to make sure we're not, hi, Aitan. We also have to make sure we're not sweeping under the rug anything that has gone badly for the customer. And I know some people are under pressure at their companies to produce research that just shows the good things and shines the light on the happy things and give us some great testimonials we can use. But I think if we're going to be honest, we're going to have to look at the customer experience from all angles, because as I like to say to people, we can't fix it if we're not paying attention to what might be broken. So that being said, here's someone's plugging a tool. Whatever you're using to tell customer stories, it's tool agnostic. You can use whatever you want. The sound's not on. But let's tell those stories. I suggest using video clips where you can and quotes where you can't use videos or don't have videos. Hi, Charlene. So share customer stories, but let's hear the bad ones too, not just the good ones. In the reports that we give to clients, we share whatever we heard. If we heard mostly good, we'll give them that. If we heard mostly bad, we give them that. We want our research to be honest to what we heard. Thank you for the tweet. Okay, this is someone who appears to be the head of design at a company I haven't heard of. Oh, Vazia says, guilty of making a report with positive connotations. Well, that doesn't mean you can't, that all of your reports have to be gloomy sadness. It's okay to have positive stuff in your report. We just wouldn't want to exclude the negative stuff to make it seem like things are going better than they are. And you're saying it was requested. Yeah, I hear where you're going. So looking at this LinkedIn post from someone I don't know, this person says, head of design, UXD instructor, mentor, speaker, and of course, certified design sprint facilitator. So, you've got almost all the things you need to know. So this person says, stop pushing pixels. I'm going to read this in slow motion because I really want to go sentence by sentence. Stop pushing pixels. What does that mean? Do you want me to not design at all? Not design so much? Not visually design? Because sometimes people see visual design as pixel pushing, but interaction design's okay. So stop pushing pixels. To me, so far this reads as clickbait. This is unlikely to get a large number of dogs. It feels like clickbait. Get your MVP out there ASAP to test. So again, to me, this is a head of design who doesn't really understand the intention of the MVP. The MVP was designed for startups who weren't too sure what to build, so they wanted to get something out fast. And by releasing something fast, they also were able to show potential investors that they can release software, because investors are always afraid of people with ideas who can never actually release software. That happens a lot. You hear it called vaporware. So the idea behind the MVP was, well, don't just keep designing and building and building and building and building until it's perfect. Just get something out there, test it with real users, use that feedback to go in the same direction, go in a different direction. The problem is that the MVP is badly flawed and a huge waste for most companies. In many cases, they're not finding out that they built the wrong thing for the customer until they spent months on engineering and then customer support time, maybe even marketing time. So the intention of the MVP makes sense, but the MVP now has become the cool startup bro thing to do. And it really doesn't make sense. Once you have one UX person working at your company, it doesn't make sense, because the MVP was all about, gosh, let's just get something out. It imagined you didn't have UX people there. So basically, as far as I can tell, this post is just a set of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like common phrases. Get your MVP out there ASAP. Why? If this isn't clickbait, tell me why. Why is it important to get an MVP out there ASAP? What happens if I get my MVP out a little bit later? What happens if it's not an MVP and I go to design more? Give me the why. Otherwise, when I see these short posts and they have common phrases in them, I just assume it's clickbait. If you're not embarrassed about your MVP you've launched too late, that's almost a direct quote, I think from Lean Startup or something, but it's something I've been hearing for almost 10 years. It's something I've burned down a number of times in my book, in talks. And again, this doesn't make sense. I can't think of a single company whose goal is to release something to the public that they're embarrassed about. Because if you're not embarrassed, you messed up. You worked on it too long. You worked on it too hard. You did too good a job. You want to be embarrassed by it? I never understood this sentence, but I always thought that if you're good at critical thinking, you didn't understand this sentence either. It's one of those things that sounds like a cool soundbite, and when you actually stop to think about what it says, it kind of makes no sense. If you're not embarrassed by the product you released to a potentially paying public, you worked too hard. You spent too much time. None of this makes sense. It's a whole bunch of weird fake standards. This is the decision point where traditional designers turns into business designers. What's a traditional designer and what's a business designer? I don't get it. Remove emotional attachment. That's funny. In a whole world of empathy and just have empathy, and design step 1, have empathy, and design sprint step 1, create empathy. And now she says remove emotional attachment and have empathy? What? Be strategic at fidelity levels. What? I don't understand that either. I don't have a good effect for I have no idea what's going on right now. I have no idea what's going on right now. Be strategic at fidelity levels. Well, if you're releasing an MVP, there wasn't a fidelity level. If you're releasing an MVP, it probably barely saw someone in UX because the MVP says just have engineering code it and get it out there. Hey, Tango Studio is here. How have you been, Catherine? Catherine says, ha ha ha, I agree. Why do you want to release things you're embarrassed about? I don't know. Maybe you can help us. Be strategic at fidelity levels. I think this is one we're going to remember because it's just so strange and I don't know what it means. Keep moving and pivot. Only if you find you're going in the wrong direction. So ultimately, this is a big pile of common phrases and clickbait. So I'm going to give it one dog. This is not someone who I would follow or, this is not for me. If it's for you, that's fine, but I like a little bit more meaningful, actionable, helpful in my posts. All right, next we got a job application. And I couldn't really make sense of the note the person sent with it. They said something about getting paid to do a design challenge or something. So let's take a look at what's going on. So this is an application. The first question after your name and is what's the code word? Now I looked at the job description and the code word was at the bottom of the job description. So this is some half-assed way to see if you read the job description. Why do you want this job? Record a 60-second video required. So too bad if you are disabled. Too bad if your camera's not working. Too bad. We need a minute on why you want this job. That's always a stupid question. Why does anybody want any job? Your job sounds good. I'd like to make money. We have to stop asking stupid questions. Who remembers what I call questions like this? Does anyone? Let's see if anyone remembers what I call questions like this. And we'll see if anyone answers, and then I'll circle back with the answer. Why should we hire you? Geez, I don't know. Like, I'm already a bit turned off. Yeah, no. Please share a few links with us. It's okay if you don't have work to show, but be transparent about it. Link your portfolio, link what you consider your best design ever, link to the most complex user flow diagram you created, link to your most detailed user research. So that's 4 links. Oh, Charlene says snuck. No, good guess, though. That's my decision matrix. So questions like, why do you want this job? I call, is a cat's urinary tract health important? And so that's from a 1990s American TV commercial where a guy's got a cat and they zoom in on him and he looks at the camera and he goes, is a cat's urinary tract health important? And my thought was, only if you want to own a cat. You know, if you find that unimportant, I want you to not own a cat, like at all. So whenever I feel like a question only has really one answer, or just a super obvious answer, so obvious that it's not worth asking, I like to say that's a cat's urinary tract question, but that's a little bit of an in-joke. All right. Who are your favorite social media creators with a star? Okay, well, I've really been enjoying Ryan George. I also like Lockpicking Lawyer. And, and every Friday a new video comes out on how to cook that. I watched how to cook that today. Pralitza says, that prompts me to reply to that. Why should I apply? Yeah, what are you going to do for me, buddy? We'll give them some New York. If you could ask a perfect, all-knowing brain 3 questions, which questions would you ask? What are we doing, everybody? What is this? What is this? Am I entering some sort of fraternity or sorority, or is this a job application? If someone is on their phone, how are they going to fill this out? You want links and screenshots. You want essays. You want this crazy crap. This is not phone friendly. Let me guess, your company is mobile first. Give me a break. Solomon says, this question springs from fear and ego. The question has been taught to HR folks and leaders as an example of a good interview question for decades, but it's not. Yeah. Did you ever go above and beyond for something that was really important to you? What did you do? Okay, how do you ensure you constantly keep learning and growing as a person? I don't even know how to answer that. How on earth are they measuring the responses here? Yeah, and Charlene's like, it's exam day. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Someone has to actually read all this shit. You know, when I speak to HR groups, I always advise that if you have a long thing like this, make it the second step of a job, whatever process. The first step is name, email, phone, upload your resume or link us to your portfolio. Are you legal to work wherever the hell this is? The end. Now screen that person. Do they have half a chance? Are you interested in them? Well, do you just want to go right to interviewing them, or do you now need a bunch of essays? Like, don't make this the first thing people do. And it reminds me of the old Monty Python sketch where this guy's going for car insurance and they make him fill like a 55-gallon oil drum full of his own urine. And in the Monty Python sketch, he's like, okay, I brought you the urine. What do you want me to do with it? And the guy's like, oh, throw it away. He's like, well, don't you even test it? And they said, no. And he says, well, then why did you make me fill up that urine? It took me months. And they say, we do that to make sure you're serious about wanting car insurance. That's what goes through my head when I see this stuff. I always have Monty Python sketches running through my head, and that is the one that I am seeing now. What's your salary expectation monthly? We need at least a range so we can assess if your expectations are realistic for us. Assuming you get really passionate about our vision and convinced that Creable, sounds like creosote, will be successful, what compensation mix would you prefer? Salary. Everybody, never take equity. I know you're thinking, what about Facebook and blah, blah, blah. Those are the rare exceptions. Remember, assume that equity will have no value. It is very possible it will have no value. Be careful. Solomon's like, dash, 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 realistic. Madalena says, my range is competitive. Ralitza says, this is hands down the worst application I've ever seen. Charlene says, 300 pounds extra for each question I answered. Very good. When can you, sir? Worst form ever, and of course, submit application. But someone had said something about being paid to, I don't know if it was being paid to fill out this form or being paid for the design thing. Solomon says there's something about the way they phrase these questions that's off-putting. Yeah. It's a UX UI designer. We take building our team incredibly serious, but evidently not grammar, because there seriously is an adverb and should have had an ly on the end. This means applying to Creable will take some time and effort from your side. If you don't want that, we recommend to not apply, as we don't want to waste your time. Please read Creable is hiring before you apply. You will learn if Creable is the right company for you. Gosh, golly gee, this is like a fucking investment. Oh, it's a Notion. Oh, good. Oh, it's got accordions. Yeah, I feel super done. Hands up who feels super done here. I won't even fill out a form that's on Workday. If you think I don't like Workday, I definitely didn't like this. So, no, I don't know who Creable is. Hashtag not sponsored. The creator economy. They have goals up to the year 2030. All right, moving on. Ralitza says I was done at question 3. Agree. Okay, someone sent me, how many dogs should that get? -10. But we don't have that, so I'll give it 1 very judgmental dog. Alrighty. Okay, next, someone sent me this Reddit about a 30, 60, 90-day plan. Hi, everyone. I tried searching for this topic, didn't find any posts. I graduated with a BS in informatics, concentration on HCI. I've been in an MS program for HCI. In March, I was hired to the company that I was already working at, switching from customer support to UX. Well, congratulations. I'm thinking my path will be one of a generalist for now. There's a lot I don't know as someone who's totally green to the industry. That's an interesting thing. I would just want people to digest that for a moment, because I've said things like this and people look at me like I have six heads. This is somebody finishing a master's degree who somehow got a job and still finds themselves green. So I want to make sure people know that while university degrees can teach you concepts and other things, they're not always getting people job ready, and that's where some of the controversy is. Vazia says, very off-putting and felt indiscreet. I get a feeling I'd receive a lot of older over-the-shoulder support if I worked there. Yeah, someone is a helicopter. I had a one-to-one with my manager about 30 days into the job where he suggested I make a 30, 60, 90 plan to discuss with him so he can help me achieve my goals. The thing is, I'm not sure how to document what he's asking for. I noted down these things I wanted to improve. Improve my communication skills, learn correct terminologies. So again, here's someone who's finishing a master's degree and they're concerned they don't know the correct terminologies for things. What is going on here? I need a new video. I've got to go buy a new stock video for what the hell planet did I just land on here? Improve on visual interaction design. I'm strong on research, but wasn't trained on visual as much. Again, I am so endlessly so sorry that researchers think they also have to be artists. I want my researchers to be researchers, and I am so sorry y'all think you have to be artists. Good God, just do great research and let someone else do the art. I am so sorry. Give and receive design critiques better. You're a researcher. You don't have to, I'm not going to ask you to critique design. I might ask you to look at someone else's research if I think you're senior enough to do a work review, but especially if you're a junior in your first job, in your first month of your first job, I'm not going to ask you to design critique anybody. So what is going on there? Gain confidence in presenting design with proper context and have information to back up the design decisions. Okay, lots of people at every level need help with that. That's a totally fair question. Are these too vague? I want feedback from more senior designers of what you'd consider a good performance review plan for a new designer. So here's the trouble here. This is communication skills, soft skills, visual interaction design. I really wish that weren't part of their jobs, but it looks like that there's trained on research, but they're hired as a UX designer who also needs to do visual interaction design. I'm a little confused as to how this person qualified for the job. Yes, I want people to get jobs. This is not about gatekeeping, but I'm a little confused as to why someone who is strong on UX research and maybe doesn't feel as strong on visual design or maybe even design got a design job. I've seen that happen before and I'm just confused. Anyway, I think it's fine for you to work on a 30, 60, 90 plan, but, hold on. It's hot in here, turning my fan back on. But I do think it's something you have to work on with a manager. I especially wouldn't ask a junior in their very first UX job to be like, go figure out what you need to learn and get better at. I would make sure to work with that person to assess their skills and ask them, what are the soft skills you want to improve? Oh, better communication. Okay, now that I've seen your work, here's our plan for how we're going to help you level up. I think it's too difficult for some juniors to self-assess. So I'm concerned about the job this person is in, and I hope they will get better support or maybe move on. Anything any of y'all want to add? There really isn't a number of dogs here. I feel for this person. I want to support them, and I don't think they're in a good job situation, and I hope it'll get better. Next, we have a Medium article from last week. That's how fresh off the grill these things are. Should UX and product management merge? This has been circulating for the last week or so, and as you might imagine, at the end of this article, this person kind of says yes. And so some people were asking me what I thought of this. And the answer that I have for people is that there's aspects of product management that feel quite natural for some UX practitioners once you have many years in UX. Once you've got years in UX, and especially if you're working from a really good research or you are the researcher, you start to feel like, based on things you see product managers doing, wow, I think I could prioritize our create a roadmap, prioritize these things, help engineers prioritize their work. Now, I'm not saying that's all product managers do, and therein lies a little bit of the secret here, which is, are you sure you know what product managers do? Before we show up and say, yeah, these jobs should merge, are we sure we know what they do and that we can do it with what? No, are we going to say we can do it with no training, no skills, no experience? How would we feel if there were an article that said, yep, product managers should just start doing UX because they know the right thing for the product. They care about the customers. Just start doing the UX. Well, that's what's happening at many of our companies, and we don't like that. So before we announce that we're going to try to take over the product management job, let's have some of that #empathy and make sure that's the message we really want to give people, that stay out of our domain, but we're going to go into yours. So let's double check that right now. Check yourself, as I think the phrase goes. And also, I think that while there are aspects of product management that many senior and higher level UX people might find they are good at, and maybe quote unquote naturally, without any product management training, most of us are already doing the full-time jobs of 4 people. I do not want any of you to have to take on another full-time job and now be what? The researcher, the interaction designer, the visual designer, maybe the front-end developer, maybe the marketing SEO person, and now the product manager or the project manager. We have to stop combining jobs. I've been fighting this for a long time, and I will keep fighting this. This is a one-way ticket to burnout. All of these companies we work at claim to care about mental health and burnout, and then they say, and here's the job, it's 7 jobs glued together. Good luck figuring out your priorities and getting it done. So I think that whether or not there's aspects of UX a product manager could be naturally good at, and whether or not there's aspects of product or project management that a UX person could be good at, can we just stay out of each other's stuff and try to make our jobs be one job and not 4 to 9? Aitan says, why are people always trying to merge roles and responsibilities without merging the salaries? Another good question. Thank you. Yes, can I please, if you want me to be the researcher, the designer, and the product manager, I would like to please make $300,000. Very good, Aitan. I like it. Aitan for president. Madalena says that's precisely why they would merge them. Solomon says it's not always about presentation. Sometimes we're presenting the wrong information. I think Solomon might be a little bit behind us today. Are you with us? Testing. So as for this, I'm going to give it 2 dogs. There's a little bit of truth to it in that, yes, maybe there's aspects of product management UX people could do, but good God, we already don't have enough time to do our jobs. Good God, we're already being told you're not agile, you're not lean, you're too slow. Let's just skip what you were going to do. There's no way that we should be slowed down by having another job put on our plate. No, extra no times 2. Thank you. All right, here's an article called Moving Past CX Myths and Returning to Fundamentals, and it's from about 6 weeks ago. So here are some myths. I assume these are the myths. Let's check. I tend to avoid buzzwords and cliches as much as I could while dispelling some common myths. This isn't an exhaustive list. Stop thinking about the customer and start thinking like the customer. So what this person ends up saying here is, does the customer think of the word luggage or baggage? One's an industry term and one people might use. So they're saying, go with the perception from the customer's perspective. I thought that was a fair point. If you're wondering how your company can be customer-centric, you've already missed the boat. I kind of like that. It says, am I being a little dramatic? Yeah, probably. But being focused on improving the customer experience isn't something you do once or repeatedly. It's the whole world. It's baked into everything. You can't be like, how do we be more customer-centric? It's everything. CX is a mindset. No, it's a discipline. We've all heard companies talk about the need to be more customer-centric. That's a valuable mindset. but would you ever hear a world-class chef describe themselves as food-centric? If you frame CX as a mindset, you're focused on the end result versus the tools and processes to achieve that end result. Anyway, in short, I thought this was a mostly nice article that I mostly agreed with. So here's how do you foster CX as a discipline? Make customer data and analysis available to everybody, organize a CX function or team with assigned responsibilities, ensure top leaders model behavior, and have CX. So obviously this is being written from the perspective of, holy cats, our company hasn't even gotten into CX yet. What are we doing? So I do find that a lot of people writing about CX tend to forget about the product, whether we call it product or the user experience or something like that. I notice that they tend to talk more about data and customer data, then, number one on his list should be go through your product and figure out where it sucks. We can have all the customer data and analysis on the planet, but if we're not taking a good, hard, come to Jesus look at our product, the rest of it's not going to matter. Your well-organized CX team won't matter. Your top leaders modeling good customer-centric behaviors won't matter. We need to take that really strong look at the product. So in general, I kind of liked the article. I thought he had some good points. I realized it was kind of from like the very beginner perspective, like, oh gosh, you are just starting to think about having a CX person at your company. So I get that perspective. And Seth has a comment on the merging of roles. Anyway, I will give this article 3 dogs. Now, there's a lot I like about it, but of course, I think it misses the boat a little bit by not saying more about the importance of better product. Seth has a comment about merging of roles. Seth says, there is a very necessary separation of concerns needed to get a good product in the customer's hands. As soon as we merge, we lose that tension to detrimental effect. Yes, there is a reason why these roles are separate, and I don't see any good reason to merge them. Thank you, Seth. Good to see you. Happy Friday. Okay, somebody else sent me an older Medium article. This is over a year old. I remember when it came out, and it's called Please Give Junior UX Designers a Chance and the Weird Stuff I Hear from Hiring Managers. Now, of course, I immediately thought that this could be a bit clickbaity. A lot of articles about please go hire junior UX designers run the risk of being clickbaity. This came some months after the totally evil Jared Spool article about how we should give junior UX people jobs, but as production designers, which I wrote a response article to, which I thought made no sense. Nobody wants that. That's job A. We want job B. So this guy says, he's talking about some of the excuses that companies use to not hire juniors. We need somebody that can hit the ground running. What you're really saying is that you're not going to invest too much in onboarding this new hire. That's not exactly true, because even I will say that. We need somebody who can hit the ground running. I need somebody to work on this who already knows how to do the right processes, has at least a couple of years of experience. That doesn't mean I'm not going to invest in this person, and it doesn't mean that they're not going to be properly onboarded into their job. It just means that for this particular job role, we are not going to be training them. We're not going to teach them UX. We expect them to know UX and have done some of this work before, so that this is not a training, internship, apprentice relationship. So, so then he says, oh, hit the ground running. Sounds like you started several projects without a designer need to play catch up. Also not true. If I'm putting someone into a project from before day one, I still need to know that on day one, they hit the ground running. So I thought these were kind of some, false constructs to try to make it seem like any company that needs somebody to hit the ground running is bad or wrong, and I don't think so. Everybody watching this channel for more than 10 seconds knows that I'm for new people being hired in the industry. I'm for apprenticeships and internships and relationships at jobs where you are getting training and mentoring and coaching and work reviews, but I also expect you to be able to do your own job. More on that later. We need somebody with experience working in agile environments. Almost every job description says that, and then they hire people who've never been in an agile environment anyway. I don't think this is really keeping people out of too many jobs. Maybe some, but for the most part, that's not the gate that I see closing on people. Hi, Sutherland. We need somebody to bring the best UX practices. You're asking a single individual to revolutionize the whole company. That's different. I usually don't see junior job descriptions that ask the junior to fix UX maturity or teach everyone best practices or the like. But I hope you're going to show up and utilize best practices. I hope you're going to show up and know best practices. So, and then this guy seems to think that best practices are the opposite. You can't use best practices and challenge the status quo. I can use best practices and challenge the status quo. UX best practices don't put you in a tiny box where there's no room for problem finding, creativity, and problem solving. So, ultimately, I think that there's a lot of stuff here that is we need an expert in every skill. Well, that's not fair. That's just not fair at all. So ultimately, I wasn't a fan of this article when it came out. Still not a fan of it. I think some of these are false constructs. And I think while I do want junior designers given a chance, I know that it doesn't make sense to hire them into environments that are not going to support, mentor, and coach them. And if your company does not offer an environment where you support, mentor, and coach with work reviews and the like, please don't hire juniors because they need that support. There's no reason to drop them into your snake pit of a job and not give them the support and mentoring and coaching they need and then be like, see, they can't do it. So that's why when juniors say, I'm not getting these jobs, I say, well, that's the employer's way of saying it's a blessing in disguise. The employer knows this is not the right environment for you. Now is the time for you to try to get more practice or some other experience, but which again is tough because schools are not building a bridge to the first job. I blame the schools, not the people. All right, we've got a couple more. Now, this one I'm not going to talk about because we actually did it, I believe, in episode 110. In 110, I went through a bunch of online programs and schools and boot camps and a couple of college university things, and I gave my off-the-cuff opinion on those things. This one was sent in. I think we did this one for that. It looks familiar to me. So go check episode 110. But certainly I do think it's interesting that someone who wants to sell you classes on UX research is using the typical pop-up to put you on a mailing list because, of course, if you've done UX research, you know everybody's on your site to sign up for your mailing list. Number one task in your task analysis, right? Step one, the user is coming here to sign up for our mailing list. So make sure that's required. So yeah, eat your own dog food, friend. If you are a UX researcher, then don't give me a pop-up trying to get me on your mailing list. You should know people don't want pop-ups. And I'm so glad there's a photo of you writing the word affinity diagrams. Tango says, not all PM requires UX. Technical PM does not use UX. Everybody should use UX. Tango, what are you saying? So I'm going to give this no dogs because I don't think I liked this one last time, but you can go check it out. Okay, now we've got a Reddit post. It's really long. This came in today, so I didn't have time to read it. It says, interview vent. I just went through a really bad UXR interview. It was for a contract role at a known company, but not FANG. First, there was no screening or first interview with the hiring manager or anyone. 2, I submitted my profile through a recruiting firm and they invited me for an interview. Okay, that's pretty common. So if there is a recruiter or middleman involved in this role, typically you are not meeting the hiring manager first. You are talking to the recruiter. They want to make sure that you are the right person to send to the company because they are the middleman. Tango says, strategy PM roadmap work does not require UX work yet. Tango, I would challenge you. Strategy PM roadmap work should be based on things we learn in UX research because otherwise we might pick the wrong features to build. Okay, back to the post. 3, in the interview invite, they asked me to complete 2 small activities. 1, design a study, create a research plan from start to finish from a very vague stakeholder email. Yes, we get that all the time. 2, design a usability test protocol, everything you would do in a usability study. They labeled it as a mini activity. Anyone who has done any research in the world knows these are not mini activities. Okay, so we have a problem with design, they're called design challenges, but I'll just say interview challenges, and I agree with this person that this is not reasonable. I have no problem doing these activities because I know people ask for these to test your research skills, but why are you calling them mini? Why are you pretending you're not asking candidates to do a lot of work without even talking to them for a minute? This is all recruiters who know nothing about research. This is a point I've raised many times, which is who is going to check these interview challenges? If it's people who don't understand UX research, how are they going to assess which candidates are good, which candidates are bad, and which candidates are just really good at faking it? The interview was 1 hour, 40 minutes panel interview with one hiring manager and 3 other researchers. Okay, sounds good. I went through my 2 presentations, demonstrated research skills, showed them my roadmap, plan for recruitment, usability script. They had no questions. I spent a lot of time carefully crafting it, and after I was done, I asked them if they did similar to what I'd done. They said, yes, I was right on the mark. Sounds good. Then the manager asked me the typical, how would you convince stakeholders about Wi-Fi users? Cite the research on Wi-Fi users, mention iterative processes, communicate stakeholders early on, triangulate using quant data, which I don't believe in, mention what kind of quant data, how would I get that? The manager still kept asking me, the stakeholders are adamant and won't take your suggestions and want you to increase your sample size. I said I would communicate about how qualitative and quantitative research methods are different, mention all things again. The manager said, okay, I think I asked this enough times and I will stop beating around the bush. Beating around the bush doesn't sound like the right phrase for there. Out of 3 team members, 2 kept their camera off. The hiring manager's screen was frozen. I had feedback on one of the interviews. She was laughing and visibly trying to control her laugh when I was asking a technical question. Well, if her camera was off, how do we know she was visibly laughing? Okay. I get she wasn't laughing at me and reading something on her screen, but that was unprofessional and threw me off. Horrible experience. Yeah, I mean, what can we say? This person's experience sounds terrible. I don't know what I can say to this. I don't know why you sent me this. What do you expect me to say to this? What can I possibly react to this? This sounds bad. I've written about most of this in my HR training. I hope everybody will take the HR training. It's free. But yeah, I don't even know how to react to this. Cat's urinary tract. What else can I say other than this is terrible and crappy interview challenge, crappy interview, crappy everything. I assume this person didn't get the job, but technically it doesn't say. So no dogs for this because I support this person and I'm sorry they went through that, but it all sounds quite stupid and unfortunate. This person should be treated better. So that's kind of it for today. Thanks to everybody who sent these in, even though some of them were kind of weird and I don't know why you sent them in. I don't know what part of you reads these things and says, yeah, send this to Deb. But if you must, you must, because we have a stream every Friday and you've got to send me something. You can send it to deltacx.link/reaction. And we do this every Friday. I was trying to keep them to 20 minutes, but if y'all keep sending all this stuff, it's, you know, it's an hour. So, bye, Ralitza. Catch you later. That being said, we've got more streams coming up. Let's take a quick look at the calendar. Monday is my micro lesson on creating screener surveys. Tuesday is double office hours, 10 in the morning Italy time and 6:30 p.m. time with special guests Darren and Dr. Nick this week. Let's see, Friday reaction stream, Monday the 23rd, Michelle Ronson will be here talking about moderated or unmoderated research. So check the events calendar, lots of stuff coming. You can find the events calendar at deltacx.link/events. Just try all these slashy things. And don't forget the giveaway, /giveaway. I'm going to send somebody a big box of Italian pasta and cookies. Make sure you can receive Italian food in your country. So I'm going to check out of here and wind down for the night and feed my dogs. But thanks to everybody for hanging out and getting involved in the conversation. And I will see y'all maybe on Monday. Please wear 14.5 masks with extra filters. Please be safe. Please don't do family gatherings yet. I just get the feeling it's not the right time. But I'm not an epidemiologist. But take care of yourself, and I'll catch everybody soon. Have a great weekend. Bye. Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are